Hello, Hannah. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
So, good morning,
I'm all
everyone.
good.
Okay, now let's welcome the next presenter, Miss Hannah Haase, with the next topic. Okay. All right.
Hello, everyone.
We can wait a bit. Yes, maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah, we got time. You guys settle in. I know you just had an interesting talk, so take a quick break.
So, excuse me, Hannah. Can we start now?
Absolutely.
Yes. Now let's welcome the next presenter.
Can
Right?
you? Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, all good. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming. Welcome. Good morning to you guys. Good evening to me and anybody who's joining us from all over the world. My name is Hannah Haase. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to VIC2022 and to all the organizers. Before I get started, you are here because you're interested in how you can engage and motivate your students, and not just engage and motivate them, but how can you use maybe a digital curriculum and an interactive platform to do so? So I would like to get started telling you a little bit about myself and about my team. We're a group of language teachers. We're very passionate about language teaching, not just teaching English, but also teaching German and Spanish. We all have a combined experience of about 58 years of teaching so far. I myself have taught for over 10 years, both in Germany and in the US. And we have experience teaching elementary through university level classes, language classes. So you might be asking, why do I do what I do? And why does my team do what we do? We want to offer more than just the paper pencil experience. Like, I grew up, when I started learning a language, it was a lot about a textbook and a workbook and a pencil and a piece of paper. And I really want to get away from that and incorporate technology and really motivate and engage my students, make them be part of the language learning process. We also want to share our experience, just like I'm doing today with teachers worldwide, because I found a solution that both my students and I really, really loved. And I'm hoping that I can pay that forward and that I can make a change and a difference in your and especially in your students' life and make them happy and excited about learning English. So we want to help students everywhere. We want to make sure that they're comfortable, that they're motivated, and that they're excited about learning a language, because we all know we learned a second language. We wouldn't be here if we didn't. So we want to pay that forward and make sure that students have just as much fun doing so. I also want to make sure that we learn a little bit something about implementing language-specific technology. There's a lot of platforms out there. There's a lot of teaching platforms out there, but a lot of them are not very much tailored to language teaching and language learning. And that's why I want to make sure that you guys walk out of this session today knowing at least one good language teaching platform that will help you and your students in the day-to-day life, in the classroom, whether that's a hybrid session, whether you're teaching online, it doesn't matter. This is something that you can use anywhere. So I want to make sure that today you feel inspired and transformed, that you have transformed your teaching and that you have and will be able to transform your students' learning. So what challenges do we face as language teachers of a world language? Probably everything that I have written on my screen here, you have experienced. there is never enough time to practice or speak in the target language. How often do we try to get our students to speak in English, but we only have so much time? Let's say we teach for an hour, we have an English class for an hour or for 2 hours, but we have a lot of students in our classes. How do we make sure that they all get to say something, that they all practice their pronunciation? It's really impossible. My students always want to write down things. They love their pencils. They love their papers. They want to like write down ahead of time, like, oh, I'm not so sure how I say this. Let me write it down. I'm like, in real life, we don't have the chance to always write down what we want to say first. No, we have to be able to speak on the spot and respond and understand. And I think we owe it to our students that we prepare them for that. One other challenge I feel like we face as language teachers is when do we correct and when do we let it be? I think those of you who attended the previous presentation and the previous speech, I think you learned a little bit about like when to give feedback, when to not give feedback. So that's a fine line that we have to learn. Partner and group activities, accountability. Who is usually doing the work when you have a partner or a group setting? There's usually one, maybe two students that do all the work, while the others are like quietly sitting in the corner, like, yep, that what you said. So they're just always kind of like finding a way out. Long-term retention of the language. How often do we teach something, but then it comes up over and over and over? How often do students ask, how do you say that? Or how does this work again? And I want to make sure that we have a way of directing them to a resource, to something where they can look that up, where they can review something, where they can get extra practice. We want students also to reflect and take ownership of their ability. But how? How do we do that? How do we make sure that they are involved in their learning, that they know what they have to do? Help students practice pronunciation. How often do you hear the words, how do you say that? How do you pronounce this? Is it those or though? All of these little things can be avoided and can be helped. You can help your students when you incorporate a digital platform and an interactive curriculum. And then last but not least, differentiation. I struggled with that because I had a wide array of students. I had some beginner, kind of like lower levels. They needed a lot of one-on-one time. They needed a lot of help. But then I had these like really talented students that had taken some English before that were really good and they wanted to be challenged. They really wanted to see, like they wanted to do more. So how do I do that if I have all of those students in one classroom? That can be hard to prepare that, to sit with one group, but make sure that our higher group is also being challenged at the same time. So I think those are some common challenges that I faced. And I'm excited and curious to hear what you tell me at the end of this presentation, if you have similar challenges and if you feel like maybe what I'm presenting today will help you overcome those. A few little language classroom statistics to tie those struggles in. So language classes, there's usually one teacher, 20, 40 students. I don't know how many do you guys have in a typical classroom. My max was 45 students. So 45 students in one class, that's a lot. I don't know how I can make sure that they all speak. In general, 25% of the class time is only allocated to speaking. So how do students stay motivated or engaged if they are not part of it? If all they do is listen? So the average student speaks less than 1 minute for every hour of class time. So you get 1 minute of speaking, but you listen basically for 59 minutes. I would probably tune out. I hope you guys don't tune out because you will be listening now for 50 minutes and don't get to talk. But, you know, for students that want to learn a language, that's a long time to just be listening. And then language speaking platforms boost student speaking time by a factor of at least 10-fold. So there is statistics that show that if you use interactive platforms, you can really make your students speak and increase their speaking factor and their abilities by 10-fold. So I would like to start here with the path to fluency is practice, practice, practice. students' tech fatigue. My students are really tired of, or were really tired of me introducing one new platform after another. We really tried everything. I tried Moodle, I tried Google Classroom, then I tried something where I could record voices. I tried different textbooks, I tried online resources, all of these things. But my students were sick and tired of always trying to learn something new, remembering their passwords. That was an easy excuse. I don't know if they really always forgot their password or if that was just a way out of doing something. There were a lot of links that they had to remember. So it wasn't like a one in all kind of thing. And that was really hard because I saw that some of my students were just like, I'm done. Like, don't bring me another thing, Ms. Haase. I just don't want to anymore. Until, and this is where I think it gets interesting, until I found Smart Class. That really made learning interesting for my students, and it gave me a new boost in like teaching. Like all of a sudden, I felt that I was like not dreading, or not maybe dreading, but I was getting more excited because I saw the excitement in my students. They were really into it. And they were really excited to try Smart Class and stick with it. They didn't want to switch to something else again. They're like, okay, give me more. What else can I do? How else can I use this platform in an interactive curriculum? So I think there's something to it. The students liked the platform so much that I switched completely from my traditional textbook and workbook to only using Smart Class. There are curricula already, a full curriculum for English. They also have something for German and Spanish, and I will show you how you can create your own activities there as well. It simplifies your life because there's automatic grading, there is recordings, there is a place where you can upload media files, all of these things. And it motivates students because it gives instant feedback on things that are automatically graded. Students can review things on their own. They have a chance to do pronunciation activities with the help of artificial intelligence, all from the comfort of their home without being nervous that somebody's going to laugh because they make a mistake, without having to stop. They can listen to the word as often as they want until they get it. And so my students, after I started using Smart Class, came back to the classroom and were like, I'm ready to read. And I was like, you are? Like, I never had students that wanted to volunteer. There were always a few, but mostly, especially in my beginner classes, a lot of them were like hiding behind their textbooks or behind their workbooks. They were just like, please don't look at me. Don't make me read something. Don't make me answer. Don't make me say something. So that all changed. So that's why I'm here today, because I want to share how that could maybe work for you and your students as well. So what does teaching with Smart Class look like? Digital platform, interactive curriculum, that might sound scary in the beginning because I was used to having a good old textbook. I had a textbook, my students had a workbook, so I would be teaching, then I would say, now do, this activity, now do this, now do that. Smart Class isn't that much different. I want to take that fear away. So teachers do still get a textbook. You still have this. You have this huge guide of a thing where you can look up activities. The only big difference is that instead of saying, oh, I really, I'm going to teach something on the present perfect today, and then I'm going to give them a worksheet. No, you're going to teach on present perfect, and then you're going to open the platform that comes with this full English curriculum, and you are going to assign the activity to your students. And your students, from their device, whether that's a computer, a tablet, a phone, they access the activity and they complete the activity. Now, why would you want to do that instead of giving them a worksheet? Because your students will have 20 different activities that they can choose from. They have different kind of stimulus where sometimes they have to listen to something, sometimes they have to read something, sometimes they have to type something, sometimes they have to say something. So it engages students. It is not like any other textbook where the focus is on writing. It has so many different kinds of activities that your students really start being engaged. So you as a teacher, after you say, I really like this activity and this activity and this one, you open the platform and you assign those activities. That is something that you can do in the classroom right then and there. You know, you're done teaching your grammar lesson, for example, and you say, okay, now it's time for you to practice. So you assign this folder with those activities that are already created for you, 2,500 of these activities. Or you can also pre-schedule that and say, I know today I'm going to talk about the present perfect. So I'm going to open this folder. It's going to be assigned to my students by 10 a.m. because 10 a.m. is when my class starts. So you can play around with that platform a little bit from a teacher perspective. You can also just use this to assign homework in. So you keep everything the same in your classroom, but then when you want your students to really review reading and writing and speaking and listening at home, you assign them those activities as homework. For your students, it's also going to look similar. Instead of getting this worksheet that they used to have that they had to write in, they get the platform. They log in and they see what they have to do for the day. So they choose the assignment, they complete it, and then they submit it. If it's something that's automatically graded, great. They get instant feedback. How awesome is it if a student does a pronunciation activity, for example, where they listen to a sentence, they click record, and they say something. The AI types out the entire sentence and gives them immediate feedback on what they said. Did they say this or did they say that? Did they accidentally say though instead of those? The AI will pick that up. I, as a teacher, don't have the time to sit there with my students and correct their pronunciation constantly. Unfortunately, I wish I did. Luckily, there is a tool out there that can help us. Artificial intelligence within the platform can help you and your students really get down on that pronunciation practice. Same thing with recordings. There's segmented recordings where students listen to questions and then they have time to respond. Then they hear the next question, then they have time to respond. So they practice real life conversations. Where do we have the chance to do that otherwise with our students? We would have to simulate a one-on-one conversation. Do we have time to do that with all of our students? Unfortunately not. Or we can pair them up. That's always a great way. But what if the students don't interact well with one another? Or if they both don't know how to do it? Or if we have the group setting and there's one or two that do all the work and the others are just passively sitting there? We're never going to get all of our students involved when it's just us and them in a classroom setting. Grading students' work. So let's go back for you as a teacher. As soon as your students submit an activity, you can grade it. You can overwrite the grade that the system puts there. Let's say they had a fill in the blank activity. They had to listen to words or sentences and words were missing, and they have to fill in those blanks. Let's say your student misspells one word. The system will say, okay, you misspelled one word, that's 90%. If you want to say, you know what, that's okay, it's only one word, I'll give you 95% on this one, you can overwrite that. You have the control as a teacher. So you can override anything that the system does. You can also leave written feedback, so you can type a comment for your students. And my favorite is you can record feedback to your students. My students loved it. They were like, Miss Haase, thank you so much for your little recording that you sent me last night. Because I was able, if they had trouble pronouncing things or saying things, I had the chance to really correct their pronunciation. I could just record and say, Tom, remember to say apple, not whatever it might be, whatever that little mistake might be, you can correct that and you can record it. If you type that, if you tell them that in class, that's their once. They can listen to this feedback recording all the time. So students can go back, and my students loved it. They went back all the time. We're like, but you told me how to say that, or you told me how to really do this. And then they went back and did it. It's amazing. What a system can really do and how it can help us teachers, but especially our students, be really happy and love coming to class. So again, automatic grading is one of the many, many bonuses that I found was amazing because it saved a lot of time for me. I could really focus on reviewing anything that my students said. So any recording that they had, any maybe video that they did because they did a little video presentation, I was able to really focus on that. I did not have to worry about, did they type these words right? I did not have to worry about multiple choice questions. I did not have to worry about correcting sentence jumbles or letter jumbles when they practice spelling. I don't have to worry about fill in the chart kind of activities. Let's say they listen or they read from 3 people, and then they match who said what or who does what at which time. I don't have to sit there hours at night and correct that. The system does that for me. And there's all these activities that are in there for every single vocabulary topic, for every grammar topic, for every conversation topic. All of that is already in there. So I don't have to really worry about that and can really focus on how do I give my students feedback? How can I make sure they are happy, they're engaged, they're motivated in this whole thing? And again, for the students, 8 quiz templates are automatically graded. So whenever they see a little question mark, that means it's an automatic graded quiz. So they see their grade, they see their mistakes right away. They can ask for a redo. They can say, you know what, Ms. Haase, I know I only got 50% on this multiple choice. Can I do it again? Yes, you can. I don't know if you are this excited, but I was super excited when my students would come to me and tell me, I want to get better. That's all I want. I want you to get better. And if you want to get better, that's a win-win. So when students come to me and say, can I do this again? I'm like, absolutely. Doesn't always happen for a test, but all the practices that I do with them every single day throughout our lessons, throughout my teaching, absolutely. If you want a redo, please do it. Please redo it. Please do it again. If you want to get better, absolutely, that's fine. You can do it as often as you want. All I have to do is click redo, and you have the chance to redo this activity again. So that's what I saw. Students took ownership of their learning. They could practice at home. They took a lot of these activities and did them at home. I had students that asked to do more. Again, not sure. Hopefully, some of you will stand up and share their experience. I did not have many kids before that wanted extra work. They were like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Nothing extracurricular, no extra credit. I don't want to see it. But it's possible. My students wanted that all of a sudden. They had all of these practice opportunities. So, I mean, I was amazed. That's why I'm here today and trying to share that with you. Another nice thing about a digital platform is that you can create your own activities. A smart class allows you not to only use their activities, which they have from beginners to advanced, but let's say you have a great video that you want your students to watch, or you have a great text that you want them to read, or you already have grammar things. You can do that. You don't have to use everything that is already in the platform, but you certainly can. You can modify what they have, or you can create a new activity. Like I said, there's 20 different templates. So you can choose whatever you want to do for your students, with your students, and can say, here's something else. Here's a quiz, or here's something open that I want you to write an open text about. Here's a video I want you to watch, and then I want you to record and summarize it, whatever it might be. You can easily create your own exercises and don't have to worry about a different platform. It's all in one place. So I was able to slowly but steadily import files and materials that I already had before that I didn't want to let go of. It took a little bit of time, but you don't have to do everything at once. I started with grammar activities I assigned through Smart Class. Then I slowly went on and used their Let's Talk section because they have videos and interviews there with native speakers. As much as I want to, I'm not a native speaker. So I always tried to give my students as many possibilities as I could to get them in front of native speakers. Yes, I can find YouTube videos, but then I have to create questions around that. There's nothing there with it. With Smart Class, it's already there. You have a video, and then you have 4 or 5 different activities just with that video. You have an interview. You have a couple of activities with that interview. So nothing that I needed to create. And same with all those listening activities. When you want students to listen to native speakers as much as possible, where do you find all those audio files? It's super hard to get a hold of them, and then you have to still create activities with it. With Smart Class, their Let's Talk English curriculum has all of that. Almost half of the activities include some kind of listening component. So students are always around native speakers, even though we're not teaching in their native language, we're not native speakers maybe, and they're learning from us and other teachers. So to summarize some main transformational points. So transformational for me was this technology framework. It engaged and motivated my students. Like I said, I had so many that wanted to do more. It gave them opportunities for true comprehension and differentiation. And it helped my students build confidence in speaking and in listening. Like I said, many of them were hiding before, and all of a sudden they were there. They were right there with me. They really wanted to learn. They really wanted to do more activities. They asked to get more pronunciation activities. They're like, can you give us more sentences that we can practice? So it was really cool. The other transformational point was the structured lesson library. So it is ready for immediate use. You can literally sign up with Smart Class and start teaching with it tomorrow. It starts in A1, beginner level, and it goes all the way to C2 level. So everything is already there. It reduces your teacher workload, and it optimizes lesson plans for pedagogy and also for the platform capabilities. I want to share a little bit of data from the classroom, so from a language classroom. Imagine I gave a prompt, like a practice prompt to my students. The first time I gave them this prompt, there were 176 mistakes for 22 students. So every student had an average of 8 mistakes. I just said, pronounce this, say these words, say these sentences, sorry, not words, sentences. So I had 176 mistakes for my 22 students. Every one of them made 8 mistakes. I gave them this same prompt a second time. So they had a second attempt to just say the sentence in a language lab kind of intervention. All of a sudden, I got down to 58 mistakes because they were able to listen to it again, and they were able to practice it. Now, from 5, so I gave them 5 attempts to practice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times they could say this. And they were down to 1.45 mistakes per student. So that shows me that if I give my students something to say once, they will still make mistakes. And that's fine because they're students, they're learners. I make mistakes all the time. That's okay. But we want to reduce the amount of mistakes our students make so that they feel good about it. We don't want them to be like, 8 mistakes, I'm done. Like, that just kills their motivation. So after 5 times, they were down to 1.45 mistakes per student. 1 mistake in a sentence instead of 8, that's fine, right? We can work with that. So I just want to show you that the more students practice, the better they get. The better they get, the more motivated they are. The happier they are to come back to the classroom to really work on that. So that's what I kind of want to show here, because that is only possible with technology. Unless we do one-on-one tutoring and one-on-one teaching, we don't have the time to make them practice over and over, give them feedback, have them work on words, have them work on sentences. That is not possible. And same thing for differentiation. I had a couple of students, 20% in the beginning of the semester, that I would say were advanced. So I tried to give them activities that were a little bit more difficult, that were a little bit more rigorous. Maybe there were more questions to one activity than, for the mainstream of my students. 20% in the beginning of the semester. After using Smart Class and having students practice, giving them many, many opportunities in the classroom, outside of the classroom, to practice on their own skills with technology, with interactive activities, nothing boring, everything engaging. At the end of the semester, 82% of my students were advanced. So I got from 20 to 82% of my students. Now, I love that as a teacher, because I was like, I did it. Like, I got my students where I wanted them to be. But my students loved it too, because they saw that they were progressing. They were learning more than they had in previous years. So not much changed other than me using a technology that really, really works. Let's look at a couple of examples of motivating and engaging activities. I'm talking so much about this curriculum and Smart Class and what they have to offer. Like I said, 20 different activity types. They have everything for conversations, for grammar, for speaking, for listening. They have review and assessment sections. All of that is right there. So you don't even have to create your own tests unless you want to. But what kind of activities did students like? Segmented recordings. That was huge because it simulated this real life conversation practice. So they listened to each question and then they responded in the pauses. Now, what maybe makes a difference in Smart Class than doing that, let's say, in any other kind of platform is students can re-listen to what they recorded. They take ownership of their learning because they can go back and listen to the question, listen to what they said, maybe erase it and start over. So unless a student is really happy with their responses, they don't have to hit submit. They can go back. They can wait. They can listen to the question again. Like, they can really play with this platform and really get good at speaking and saying things. Category matches are a fun way for students to play around and drag and drop and keep them motivated throughout, because they have to listen to something. They also have to read something. They also have to drag and drop. There's a lot of components to those. Conversation practice. How often do we try to get our students to talk to partners and groups? And there's 2 conversation practices for every single section, for every single chapter, for every single topic. So plenty and plenty of those. And then 2 of my favorites, games and projects. I love using games in my classroom because I think that alone is a game changer for students and really motivates them. But sometimes it's hard to come up with games and they take a lot of prep. So Smart Class has all of these games already ready for you. And students can get a student workbook or student book where they have game sheets and conversation sheets, where they have the vocabulary lists. Again, it's not that they write down all the activities. It's not a complete, the teacher book without the answers. No, it means everything you need to read is in there. The grammar charts are in there so you can make notes. The vocabulary lists are in there so you can write your translation in there. The game sheets are in there so you can play the game. The projects are in there so that you can fill out the projects and your self-assessment of how you think you did. But it does not mean that you're writing something, that you were writing a text, or that you're filling in things, or that you're checking the multiple choice. That is all done in the platform. But there is a resource book for students that need something printed as well. Now, I have talked a lot about this, but I want you also to see that it's not just me. There has been a study, Why Students Love Learning with Smart Class, which was a pilot program in Italy. And these students from both university and high school experimented with Smart Class between March and June, about 1 to 3 times a week. And their top skills that they gained were listening, speaking, pronunciation, comprehension, and oral interaction. So all skills that I think aren't supported in a traditional classroom, aren't supported with traditional textbook, paper, pencil materials. So students voted Smart Class to be a valuable English learning tool with innovative features. A couple of quotes from the students, because again, don't just trust me. You know, I'm one teacher that loved teaching with Smart Class, and I know there is thousands of them out there. They can't all be here, but there's a big community of Smart Class users, of teachers that have transformed any kind of language teaching with it. So students love learning with Smart Class because it helped them a lot with learning English. The exercises were not boring, and it doesn't feel like homework. I felt that it enhanced my grammar knowledge, and I would recommend it because of the speed of the instruction alone. Pronunciation exercises help with understanding the correct way to pronounce and made it easier for me to improve and understand English better. I can pronounce sentences more fluently. I had less struggle with comprehension of exercises. I had a better understanding of grammar topics. And I saw the progress I made through self-assessment. So again, a lot of things that students love. And I really hope that this inspired you, and at least you want to give it a try. I want to invite you to a 30-day trial that allows you to try Smart Class for free. You can check out the activities, you can check out the curriculum, all of these 2,500 English activities. You can just play around with it a little bit. I recommend watching some videos before jumping in, just to understand the platform, but it's all when you sign up for the trial. And I just want you to know that Robotel is there for all these Smart Class users. So if you do decide you want to use Smart Class in your classroom, there's trainers, there's onboarding, there's pedagogical mentoring. Like, you're not left alone. I feel like a lot of technologies or textbooks, it's like, here's the textbook, here's the student book, now teach with it. There's training on how to use the platform, how do you integrate your students, how do you assign activities, how do you grade the things that you need to grade. Like, all of that is there for you. And I think that's a huge thing when you as a teacher want to be successful, you want to be able to really use it. If you have time, I hope you can visit the SAOMI Education Group in the Tech Fair area, because they are our local partners, and they're there and have everything Smart Class related for you to try, for you to look at, maybe some books, some brochures, all the things that maybe I missed today, you will be able to see there. So with that, I want to thank you for your attention, for listening to me, for coming here, for wanting to motivate and engage your students. I think that is something huge. You need to be congratulated that you want to change something. You care about your students, and so do I. So thank you for coming, and I would like to open the floor for questions, concerns. If you want, please share some struggles when it comes to implementing technology. Maybe what have you tried? Have you tried a platform or a digital curriculum? Have you tried to teach, hybrid, kind of like little technology, little this? What has worked? What hasn't? What is missing? Like, I'm here for you now to answer anything and any question that you might want to ask. I don't know if anybody is talking, but I cannot hear anything. So sorry. speaker is on everything.
Can you
I
hear me?
heard you before. What happened? Yes.
I cannot hear you.
You cannot hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Okay, awesome. Yes, I can.
Yeah, teacher, I would like to ask you some question that if I understand this is the smart lab, it is the platform, is it correct? So if a teacher
Yes.
go to your platform, we can create some activity. So I see that in your slide, we have it means that the teacher can do some activity and teach listening skill, speaking
Yeah.
skill, writing skill, something like that. And I see that you have the exercise semantic recording. Could you please explain for me what is it and to understand more about the your platform and in your position, how do you feel? Do you save time when you use this platform to teach? And how about the student? Are they interested in with this platform?
Yeah. So my students loved the platform. They were really interested in it, and we used it all the time, in the classroom and for homework. You as the teacher can create your own activities, but you can also use the activities that come with the platform. So that I think is the nice thing. You have 2,500 activities that you can choose from. It's a full curriculum. So just like any other traditional textbook, it goes from the beginners to the advanced levels, and you have all of these activities to choose from to assign to your students. But you can also create your own activities if you want to. As far as the platform, you can go and the segmented recording, for example, you can check it out. I know we don't have that much time here today, unfortunately, but you can go and visit the Sao Mai education group, and I'm sure they can give you a presentation of and show you a segmented recording, how it would work. So, for example, it has an audio file already. So students would be listening to a question such as, what did you do on the weekend? And then there's a pause and students record their answer. So they have to say, oh, well, I went to the movie theater this weekend and I had a lot of fun with my students, or I had a lot of fun with my friends. And then there would be the second question that says, what did you like most about this weekend? And then they would have to answer again. So like there's a lot of back and forth, this like conversation practice, or it could be something like, hey, how are you doing today? They would have to answer, good. How are you? I'm great. How's your day been? And, so it's all this back and forth kind of like preparing them for conversations and real life.
And when after you do you create some activity, so when the student send you the message and you use this platform to like assessment writing some mark for them. I mean
Writing
that
some what for
assessment.
them? I'm sorry.
I mean that we can assessment give the student some mark. Is it correct?
Yes, you can assess students. So there's assessments, there's a placement test will be available soon. So you can give this test to your students and see where they are at, which level should they start with. And then after each lesson that is in this book, in this curriculum, within the platform, there's an assessment on how they do. So every level has 6 chapters. So there's 6 assessments that you can plan throughout the year, 1 a month, whatever your teaching pace is.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your answer, right?
Are there any other questions?
Hi,
Does
Hannah.
anyone want to share?
Yes. Hi, Anna. Thank you for a very interesting smart class platform. And actually, I have a few questions because actually we have a national project training different platforms for teachers. We work with Coventry University UK for that, and I feel like Smart Class is quite comprehensive platform. And so I have a few comments. The first is regarding the price. Is that affordable for teachers or for institution to purchase for the teachers? The second is you experimented with high school and university students. However, what is the good? What is the age appropriateness to apply the platform? Because I realize there are some certain technical competencies in order to use the platform. And the third is that what would you recommend if we think about this as one of platform to train teachers for teacher professional development? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for your questions. Those are all wonderful questions. As far as the price goes, I would go to Salmai and they can give you the exact price list. I am not sure. I'm a teacher myself, so I'm not the salesperson. I don't know all the details. What I can tell you is that it was less expensive than a traditional textbook. For me, teaching here in the US, a textbook was $150. And then the students had to pay around $150 for their student book. Smart Class is way cheaper. Nothing even close to that. So that is my answer for the price. But if you want specific prices, I would recommend go to Salmai or send an email. Look up Robotel. And then send an email to Robotel, and then they can give you an exact price or a quote for your, the amount of students you have and what you're looking for. But for the age, I can answer that. I would recommend this platform for middle, high school, and university or adult learners. So I think like you said correctly, there is some things that you have to be able to do when it comes to technology. You have to know how to drag and drop, have to know how to click and delete and, fine tune if you want to move on that. So I would say students should at least be 10 years old. The curriculum, so all of these English activities, are also designed more for middle, high school, and adult learners. Just from the topics, from the images, all of that, it would not really speak to elementary students. Not saying that you can create your own activities, but I have to be honest, I would not use it with elementary students. I think it's not, too much gamification for them. And then third, your question about like if you think that you could train language teachers with it, absolutely. I think this is a wonderful program. I know that Robotel has a lot of Smart Class users, people that use this to become more proficient in English because they want to improve their job skills, because they want to go to technical schools, like all of these things. And we also have a lot of teachers that use this from a university to be better at English. It is not a self-study program, so it would have to come from your institution because we don't think that there should be a teacher taken out of this. So you want to make sure that there is a teacher that still, assigns the activities, reviews everything that is open-ended, written or spoken. So you still need that, but there's grammar videos. So even a teacher would not necessarily have to teach the grammar. There's a link to a grammar video on every single one of these. So there's a lot of things that you can do with it, but I would say yes, absolutely. For teacher professional development, for them to increase their English skills, if you have somebody that can facilitate the course, absolutely. I hope that answers the question. Any other questions or follow-ups? Anyone who wants to share their struggles? Are your students usually motivated and always engaged? Do they love coming to your classes? Love to hear from some fellow teachers. I don't know if anyone is speaking or not. I cannot hear anything, just as a feedback in case somebody was talking.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Did
you
I
so
just
much.
hear someone?
One more questions. All right.
Hello, teacher. There are about 30 and 40 students for each class, so it's quite difficult for teacher to manage and evaluate for all students, and they give immediate feedback for all students as well with online teaching because they don't have enough time. So could you give us some tips to overcome these challenges? And could you get some smart tools to help teachers give their students immediate feedback on time for each online lesson? Thank you.
Yeah, I think for the online session, it would be similar. So you would be teaching to your 30, 40 students, and then when they do some of these activities, the nice thing about the platform is that it grades things for you. So let's say your students did a multiple choice quiz because they had to read something and they submit the quiz. They say, okay, now I'm done. I selected all my answers. Then they go and get feedback from the platform because the platform grades it right then and there. So they see which questions did they get wrong, what didn't they do. When it comes to pronunciation, like I said, it's the same thing. The AI types out everything that the student said. So they see exactly what is happening. They see what they did wrong. And then for any kind of speaking activity, the immediate feedback is, other than pronunciation, that takes a little bit of time because you as the teacher would have to go and listen to the recordings. There is always the chance of doing a language lab, where if you are in a classroom with your students together, you could have a language lab there, and then you can listen in on every single student practicing their speaking. But if you're teaching online, then I would recommend you assign activities for them to speak on their own time. So kind of like homework or their own study time. And you focus on everything that is automatically graded during your lesson. So you will have your lesson that you teach. You make them do all these automatically graded things so that they get automatic feedback right away. And then whenever they go and want to practice on their speaking, you do that on their own time. So then they have time to record, they have time to listen, they have time to speak, and you have time to listen to all of those recordings and give them feedback on what they did great and what they could improve. Does that help?
Right. We can start.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Thank you so much for your great presentation today. Right. Thank you and goodbye. Right.
Thank you.